Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Hope everyone's doing well, having a good day wherever you are in the world. So about a month ago, I did my initial predictions for the undercard of the Beterbiev-Bivol fight, which is due to take place just over a week away. February the 22nd, Kingdom Arena, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And amongst those predictions was my preliminary prediction for the Agit Kaybayel Zhilei Zhang fight. And now it's time for me to finalize that, to give my final prediction, and I'll talk about how I think the winner is going to win and the method of victory they're going to achieve. So, without further waffle from me, let's get to it. It's billed as Zhang v Kabayel, which is a little bit odd because Kabayel has a higher world ranking, and I thought it would be the other way around. But I'll deal with it the same way that the BoxRec has it written down. Zhilei Zhang is 41 years of age, but interestingly to me, just my observation, he doesn't seem as shop-worn as some other heavyweights who are of a similar vintage. You know, your Joe Joyces and your Derek Chisora, for example. So he's weathered the rigors of his long amateur and reasonably long professional career seemingly better. But of course at 41, one never can tell. Someone can get old literally overnight. So it's something to bear in mind. He's ranked number 10 in the world. He's a southpaw, of course. He's 6'6", and he's got an 80-inch reach. And on his last outing, he weighed, I think it was 282 and change. So he's a very big man. 282 that's over 20 stone, isn't it? Yeah. He had an extensive amateur career, 36 wins, 17 losses. Possibly his most famous fight, if you like, was against Anthony Joshua in the 2012 Olympics. He lost a quarter-final fight to Anthony Joshua, who of course went on to win the gold medal on his home turf. As a pro, he's got 27 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. Let's just talk about his last 5 fights and any other things that are sort of interesting to us. His last fight was a TKO over Deontay Wilder in 5 rounds. Now, I always want to say, you know, having Wilder's name on your record, I'm not sure how good Wilder is now, which also raises a question of how good was Wilder ever. I mean, I think it appears that Wilder is a shot fighter now, so Zhang's win over Wilder should be viewed, in my view, in a comparable way to Parker's win over Wilder. Wilder's a big name to have on your record, but how good was Wilder? We don't know. But it is what it is, right? It was a very clear finish, but Wilder did something really stupid. He sort of like turned away as though he wanted to talk to the ref, and of course Zhang closed that distance immediately and pop, it was all over. Then he fought Parker, of course. He lost a majority decision. It went the distance, but he lost a majority decision, having dropped Parker twice. So great credit to Parker for getting up off the ground. Being hit by Zhilei Zhang is absolutely, I would imagine, no fun at all. Though you could argue that Zhang, having dropped him twice, was slightly unlucky to, you know, lose on a split decision. I think personally Parker did enough to win, but, you know, having dropped him twice and then to lose a split decision, you know, is a case to be made, right? Then, of course, we've got the 2 Joe Joyce fights. His most recent one, he KO'd Joe Joyce in 3. Poor Joe Joyce should never have taken that second fight, eh? I think maybe it's contributed to some of Joe Joyce's apparent difficulties that we've been talking about on this channel, and I'm sure that people have been talking about in other places as well. His first fight with Joe Joyce, he TKO'd him in 6. And then we had that interesting fight with Filip Hrgovic, who beat Zhang, unanimous decision, not a split decision, unanimous decision, went the distance, 12-round fight. And I think a lot of people, myself included, think that Zhang was unlucky there. So, he's had some good fights. Those are his only 2 losses, by the way. His loss to Parker and his loss to Hrgovic. I'm not sure about this Hrgovic fight. I look at it. Yes, I can see why the judges gave it to Zhang, but I think it was really close. You could have made a case for Zhang. Anyways, it is what it is, right? Interestingly, whenever Zhang has gone the distance of a 10-round or more fight, he's not done so well. He beat Rudenko, unanimous decision, 10-10. Jerry Forrest he drew in a 10-round fight, and then, as we've said, he lost against Hrgovic, that went the distance, and he's lost against Parker, went the distance. So that should tell us that we're not looking at a fighter that's got a lot of engine. He definitely fades as the fight progresses, and we see that, right? I mean, again, he's carrying around one hell of a lot of weight, which leads me to think we don't know what he's going to weigh for this fight. If he was to get down to, well, say he got rid of 10 pounds, which one would think would be fairly straightforward, for a 20-stone man to lose 10 pounds. If he came in at, say, 272, would that help him, particularly in the last few rounds? I mean, carrying that extra meat, I'm not sure if it really helps, to be honest with you. Like, does it make, if you're a 20-stone man, are you hitting that much harder than if you weighed 18 stone, 17 stone? I don't know. I don't want to get hit by anybody. But it's, I'm not sure if carrying that extra beef is good for you, particularly as you age. And it's going to make training a lot harder. It's going to make everything harder. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what he weighs in at. If he does come in at a relatively svelte 270, that could change this prediction. But hey, I'm making it today, so I'm making it today, right? Interestingly, the bookies were saying that the decimal odds, 220, they've now lengthened 240. So, certainly the bookies are thinking that Zhang, who started off as an underdog, is now even more of an underdog. Let's take a look at Kabayel. He's aged 32, fights out of Germany, born and raised in Germany as well, whereas Zhang, of course, was born in China and now fights out of New Jersey in the United States. Kabayel is rated number 3 in the world. He's an orthodox fighter, 6'3", 80-inch reach, perfect build for a heavyweight, same as Usyk. His last fight, he weighed in at 238. So if these weights sort of stay the same, he'll be giving up 44 pounds, which would be quite substantial. But you would think that he'd be a lot more fleet of foot, not having, 3 stone in English money. It's been a while since I've thought in stones, to be honest with you. So if I make a mistake on this, just forgive me, okay? And for crying out loud, I can't think in kilos at all. I think in pounds. It doesn't have an amateur record that I could find. BoxRec has nothing, and then Dr. Google wasn't able to show me any amateur record. So maybe he went straight into the pros. I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me on the comment section here. Anyways, he turned pro in 2011. He's actually been a pro longer than Zhang, huh? Zhang turned pro in 2014. Interesting. Pro record 25-0. And if we just walk back through his last 5 fights, same as we did with Zhang, we'll see that he KO'd the highly rated Cuban Frank Sanchez in 7 rounds. Though I will put an asterisk there because Frank Sanchez came in with his knee very, very heavily bound, and maybe that was affecting his movement. So again, an asterisk or question mark. But Kabayel did a very, very nice job on Frank Sanchez, who, you know, had been, still is, a very highly regarded fighter. Prior to that, he absolutely beat the crap out of Makhmudov, who's I think he's a Russian, but anyway, he fights out of Canada here. And Makhmudov had been a fearsome guy. Like, people were looking at Makhmudov. I mean, if you want a Hollywood villain, Makhmudov is your man. But yeah, he destroyed Makhmudov. TKO'd him in 4 rounds. And before that, he TKO'd a fellow, Smakichi. I'm not familiar with that guy, actually. In 3 rounds. Prior to that, Pavel Sauer in 1 round. And then he went the distance with Kevin Johnson, 12-round fights, and got a unanimous decision. He got a majority decision over Derek Chisora as well during the COVID era, when people were fighting behind closed doors and everybody was wearing a diaper on their face and whatnot. So he's, like I say, he's the clear betting favourite. And I would imagine that most people are expecting Kabayel to win on points. Kabayel's got really good technical skills. He's very disciplined in the ring as well. He doesn't seem to get flap at all. Like, you know, in the Chisora fight, Chisora was Chisora, right? He doesn't seem to get panicked. He boxes to a plan. Very solid jab. He controls the distance well. He's got very good head movement, and he's got very good feet. Zhang, on the other hand, of course, Zhang is a southpaw, so he creates those weird angles, which is, you know, challenging for an orthodox fighter. Clearly a wickedly powerful left hand. He's also no slouch in tapping you with the right hand either. So you don't. It's not like he's a one-armed fighter. He can hit with both hands, but his left hand is especially powerful. He strikes me, Zhang this is, as very patient. He doesn't expend a lot of unnecessary energy. He's probably very clearly aware that his cardio is his weak point, and so he's not throwing a lot of shots. He's sort of very, very cagey, patient, waiting for somebody to make a mistake and then pop. And you don't need to be popped too many times by Zhang in order to have a really, really bad day, right? He obviously doesn't want to waste any energy. And he sort of capitalizes, is that the right word? Yeah. He capitalizes. If an opponent's making a mistake, then Zhang is on it. And he can move, you know, when he sees that there's sort of blood in the water, he can definitely move. Deontay Wilder would tell us that. Even though he's the underdog, I have a feeling that he's like the establishment favourite. I have a funny feeling that Zhang is a wee bit more marketable than Kabayel. I mean, neither are from the Anglosphere. Well, Kabayel actually speaks really, really good English, as Zhang, you know, really doesn't. But somehow I feel that Zhang is more marketable, and I suspect that in the back rooms, you know, people like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are sort of fantasizing about a big fight at the Bird's Nest in Beijing, 80,000 people getting into the China markets and all that stuff. Whereas Kabayel just seems like that low profile, professional, goes in there, gets his job done, thank you very much, go home, you know, like that. Just an observation. Be interested to know what you think. Anyways, come down to now prediction. No waffling, no sitting on the fence. I am picking Agit Kaybayel for the win. I am also thinking that Kabayel may go for a late stoppage if Zhang is gassed out, as I expect him to be. So that would be a bet to put on. You might want to hedge that and put a hedge on of a first half of the fight knockout by Zhang if you weren't, if you just wanted to hedge a little bit, and maybe I'll do that. I haven't seen the odds for a Zhang knockout, but I might do that. My money's already put on Kabayel for the win, and I think that there's a strong possibility it could be a late stoppage. If not, it'll be a points win. So there we go. That's my prediction. That's my breakdown. That's how I see the fight unfolding. Please let me know what you think. You think that the Big Bang has got the power to stop Agit Kaybayel? If so, when? Or do you think Agit Kaybayel, like I say, will have the ring IQ and the technical boxing skills to avoid being hit by the Big Bang and be able to win over either a points win or possibly a late stoppage? That would be interesting. I don't think that we've seen Zhang hit the deck, which would be that would be something, wouldn't it? Christ, I hope they reinforce the ring. Much will depend upon the weights, though. This is one of those fights where normally I don't really care what a heavyweight comes in at. But this one might be interesting if Zhang has been able to shed some of that lumber. But, you know, he'll fight at whatever weight he's comfortable at, of course. I would imagine that Kabayel will weigh pretty much the same. I wouldn't think that there would be any percentage in Kabayel trying to put on weight to make him, you know, have a greater punch resistance. I mean, I think the best way to avoid the best punch resistance with Zhang is to avoid getting punched. And I would think that speed and movement is Kabayel's key to victory. Okay, if you've liked this, please subscribe, please add comments, you know, all that good stuff. And wherever you are, have a fabulous day. Cheers. Bye-bye now.